esteemed co-speakers, and the chairperson. Thank you very much, the organizing committee, for this opportunity to address this August gathering. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for taking this initiative to really drive the National Ambulance Code to its conclusive end. I would, after discussing ambulance design, human ergonomics, care delivery, the last 2 days, and also with Dr. Parvez Ahmed and Professor Suresh David, I would be addressing something which is more fundamental to the ambulances in case of the fast drug delivery systems. So, ambulatory oxygen systems, the reality in our country today and what should be essential, which currently has been notified under the National Ambulance Code. So, I would carry the presentation in 5 stages. So, why oxygen is so important, the current scenario in the country, the need for the change, the system how it should be, and the conclusion. So, why oxygen is important is, this is what in 1917 quoted by John Scott Haldane: hypoxia not only stops the motor but it wrecks the engine. So, although the effect of oxygen as far as clinical studies are concerned is not much, but oxygen is fundamentally administered in ambulatory oxygen situations to treat hypoxia, to prevent hypoxic situations, and I believe with a lot of clinicians that oxygen can alleviate breathlessness. Being the fundamental to the vital sign of saturation of oxygen, it needs to be monitored, recorded, and properly dosed. The current situation in our country when it comes to design of oxygen systems, the situation is not more than what Professor David also pointed out, that it is, end of the day, technology plays a very important role to the care delivery of the paramedics inside the ambulances. It's basically, it comes back to the same decision that the caregiver has hardly any control on what goes on while building these ambulances or while delivering care to them. Because you people normally being end users with a clinical background had hardly anything to do with technology. You do not understand how a system has to be designed, so end of the day, on the date of delivery of the product, the sign of it, the finish of it, it doesn't tell anything about the engineering, the design, the system integration that goes on its back. So almost every part of the oxygen system leads to a hazard, leads to a point where the system starts collapsing. Fundamental small things, but this happens in, this is what you see here is again things which has been on Indian ambulances. So the compromise in technology, the compromise in the components. So this all comes, and when with the end user, normally you collide them on the field and you ask them, the answer is that why such a system, and normally you do not have a logical answer to this, because as I told you that most of the time you people are the end users with hardly any control on what comes to you to give that delivery of care. So as usual, most of the time, like it happened in the ergonomy workshop yesterday, the basic questions comes down to always in India is that anything which looks good must be expensive. Anything which looks good, perhaps we can't afford it. So like one of you yesterday responded that designing an ergonomic ambulance, why did you add a cost? You had a chair at position X and you changed it to position Y. So why the ambulance becomes more expensive? So it need not be always. And without a real cost and benefit analysis, costing has nothing to do. So in most of our cases, like my previous speakers, they touched upon this same thing, that care delivery has to be accustomed to it, has to be symbiotic to cost and benefit analysis. The cost cannot be a sole factor while deciding a technology for safety, while deciding for a human life, not only for the patient, but also for the caregiver inside the ambulances. When it comes to breathing oxygen applications, there is hardly any difference between those in the intra-hospital environment and those in mobile ambulance environments. It's basically breathing and the system design, starting from choosing the components, designing the system, erecting it, installing it, commissioning it, and making it run involves exactly the same things that you go across in a intra-hospital based medical oxygen system meant for human breathing. So the system as such comprises broadly of the same things that you go across in a intra-hospital oxygen system. Starts with a source, you have a distribution, a controlling, monitoring of the oxygen system, the termination and administration. The only fundamental difference being that inside an ambulance, your distribution system is not as wide as you have inside a hospital. Coming to the source, the fundamental flaw starts in the design of the ambulances in the country, where a tradition is that we normally place our oxygen cylinders contradictory to the manufacturer's suggestions to keep them vertically upright. Global standards all over the world, practices inside India, including those inside your intra-hospital applications, gas cylinder manifold rooms, nowhere you keep an oxygen cylinder in the sleeping position. So when it comes to ambulances, the fundamental preference to keep the oxygen cylinder in the sleeping position, and most of you perhaps do not know why. Why such a compromise? So it is like, because we cannot define what we need, and perhaps that makes the supplier to compromise whatever they need. It's like Dr. Ralston said yesterday, when Mexico wanted to buy ambulances, they defined to the last millimeter where the belt of the patient on the stretcher should be. So unless you gear up and you specify your requirements to the last millimeter, suppliers like us, we will take you for granted. Because building of a system where perhaps to stack the oxygen cylinders vertically or horizontally is not your domain, but stacking an oxygen cylinder horizontally, what it can lead to is already studied. It is the same thing like Dr. Parvez told, that the research, the fundamental research, not only in care delivery, sir, but also in technology. We do not have an environment to study situations of care delivery, human ergonomics inside hospitals, inside ambulatory environments. So already proven things from the Western world is makes us to adapt these things for the Indian conditions. So keeping a cylinder inside an ambulance in a sleeping position is a safety hazard, is against the contradiction to the recommendation of the cylinder manufacturer to stack the cylinder inside an ambulance. So the preferred position for the stationary oxygen systems is always vertical. For the portable oxygen systems, you can keep it inside the backpacks, you can keep it inside the emergency cases, you can keep it inside the stretcher at its appropriate storing location. So portable oxygen cylinders as such do not have a recommended stacking position. They can be stacked both vertically and horizontally. In many of the customer requirements and specifications, we find that transient filling of cylinders inside an ambulance or at a site is specified, and this becomes mandatory requirements to deliver. Whereas trans-refilling of cylinders are prohibited by law. You cannot trans-refill a pressurized cylinder from cylinder A to cylinder B. So be it whatever remote location it may be a hilly terrain, it may be a rural area, but trans-refilling is absolutely unsafe, it is hazardous, it is banned by law. So oxygen cylinders means the oxygen as such is not a flammable gas. Oxygen doesn't burn. Oxygen only helps in burning. So the source of fire has to be somewhere else if there is a fire hazard in ambulances. And in spite of the most developed technology in the Western world, fire in ambulances is quite common. And our awareness about an ambulatory oxygen system and the care it should be taken to ensure that we reduce the lacunas in design of the oxygen systems inside the hospital needs a much greater understanding that anything that is decreased, anything which has a grease, has a oil, has anything to do on a combustible agent can be a source of fire in situations of movement, because anything which is a metal, fundamentally the oxygens are stored inside metal cases. The cylinders are made of metal. So metal to metal friction, metal to metal collision in any moving vehicle can be a source of fire. And anything which is a combustible agent inside the entire oxygen system can lead to a fire hazard. So at no point of time in the oxygen cylinders there should be anything which can be a source of fire hazard, anything which is a lubricant, a oil sort of things. And at no point of time oxygen cylinders should be kept inside the very conventional paramedic sitting or attendant seats that we normally have in our ambulances, because forward backward sitting is still a dream perhaps in our ambulances unless until National Ambulance Code is perhaps notified, and even on National Ambulance Code also forward backward sitting is not a mandate. So the sitting, lateral sitting on bench perhaps would continue to be a practice, and in many district level hospitals also we have seen that oxygen cylinders are stacked inside the attendant seats because it becomes a very convenient and safe location to keep it. So, but fundamentally if you look at the hazard it can really lead to, it can be a source of a fire. So oxygen cylinders need not be stacked anytime inside the attendant seat bottom. Like I told you, oxygen as such doesn't catch fire, so the source of fire has to be somewhere else. But then once it catches fire, oxygen provides a good medium for the fire to spread. The distribution system is very simple, that it is medical grade oxygen delivery hoses with appropriate and approved end fittings. Extremely important in this context is both appropriate and approved. Many times you may have an appropriate fitting, but it is not approved for a medical oxygen application. If it is not approved for a medical oxygen application, most of the time you being clinicians are normally feel that the difference between a medical oxygen application and other oxygen applications are not really the purity. It is not the purity of oxygen, it is the purity of the other physical impurities inside the gas and the entire system that segregates medical oxygen from other applications of oxygens in industrial or any other thing. So distribution system is extremely important because this is something which is not visible to you. This is something which has been already implemented when the product comes to you. So distribution system is completely not visible. In the control, it can be automatic control like you have in most of your hospitals, or it can be a manual control. But again, medical grade controls with approved and certified fittings. Monitoring can be a digital monitoring or can be a simple analog monitoring. Again, of medical grade, basically because of precision and approvals for an analog monitor to sustain the mobile environments. Most of the ambulances I would have scanned in India in the last 2 decades, 90% of the ambulances, the pressure gauge doesn't work. And the pressure gauge remains as it is, and the paramedic normally knows when he changed the cylinder and what is the number of cases it has been done. So even if you have an analog gauge, it has to be again of medical grade and of approved quality. Termination, one of the most important things again after the source which is visible to you, because termination is the point where you take your gases for the patients. So termination has to be a medical grade terminal outlets. In the current situation in the country, I already showed you the last couple of slides in which the grains that you saw were the untreated metal particles which normally you find in non-certified terminal outlets. And these, when it goes inside the breathing stream, it directly lands up inside the human lungs. So these oil particles which remains inside this untreated of uncertified medical outlets. So every coupler that you find in the market is not a medical grade outlet. So there is a fundamental difference between a coupler and a indexed medical grade terminal outlet, which should be the delivery point of oxygen from the ambulance to your patients. Coming to administration or dosaging. So this is a very typical, a small case study I would like to present to you. Imagine that a paramedic inside an ambulance, and you set for a patient, you set a flow rate of a small little flow rate of 1 to 2 liters, because in India normally in ambulances we have seen whenever you have a patient, normally the oxygen dosaging starts at a very high level. Please remember that hypoxia can be more dangerous than hypoxia. So excess of oxygen can cause irreversible damage to your patient, and oxygen must be dosed in the right way and the right quantity. So flow of oxygen is extremely important. Oxygen in India may be cheap, but dosaging of excess oxygen for the patient can be hazardous and can have irreversible effect on its physiology. So here a paramedic sets a oxygen flow meter from 1 to 2 liters, and after some time find the patient to be hypoxic. And the reason can be that in mobile environments, if with a single jerk the bobbin has gone to a certain level and it is not a medical grade approved flow meter and a bobbin inside it, it remains there. And because of the negative pressure the bobbin creates, it automatically gets stuck there. And actually, although the paramedic feels that there is a flow of oxygen, there is literally no flow of oxygen. You can try it out in your ambulances that when the vehicle is in movement, it will be practically impossible for any of you to see if the flow is set at 1 to 2 liters. So always the flow starts at 5 to 6 liters, and you have hardly any chance to really dosage oxygen in the right way. So oxygen administration should be typically linked to human ergonomics, although it doesn't affect, but yes, observing a floating bobbin in a moving vehicle is definitely affects your eyes, definitely causes fatigue, so it is human ergonomics and as well as safety. So the ideal should be a dial type setting in which set the flow which you want. If you have a pediatric patient, if you have a neonatal patient, you have an adult patient, depending on the oxygen needs, you can set exactly the flow of oxygen that you need for your patient. Coming to humidification, it should be strongly recommended that in ambulatory systems you have disposable humidifications, not reusable, because most of the ambulances are left with humidifiers which has water inside it, and no need to define that. The best possible source to transmit infection microorganisms is water, and there is hardly any chance in these ambulances to really autoclave these humidifiers. So in conclusion, what I would like to specify is that as end users, normally you get what is defined there in a supplier to deliver to you. Technical specifications, tender specifications, user requirements become guiding principle for Indian suppliers to deliver you the commodity, the product, the solution, what has been specified, and many of the times even improving this becomes difficult. The system is so designed that you cannot even try to supply or try to increase something which has been defined there. So trying to deliver you a certified oxygen system against the defined specifications also becomes difficult. So it is very important to understand that even the broad functional and the application requirements should be specific to requirements. So you must specify as the very basic drug requirement in the ambulance, the fundamental source of life for your patient, oxygen. You must define it to the last millimeter possible. Your user requirements, because like I keep on telling in my plant many times that quality should be visible to the eye. So these systems, these pictures which I showed you in the first part of presentation is visible to every paramedic, to visible to every emergency physician who goes inside the ambulance. And human ergonomics, the basic cleanliness, basic hygiene of the oxygen system is fundamental to the safety of the ambulances and should be taken care of. So volunteer adoption of these things, as I told you, since the procurement systems, even the most of the countries based on tender requirements, on user specifications, so voluntary adoption is not going to happen. This is something very clear because everything when it boils down to cost, without a cost benefit analysis, without the values that a system is going to bring in for the caregiver, for the stakeholder, for the patient, voluntary adoption of a medical grade oxygen system in ambulance is not going to happen unless and until the National Ambulance Code mandates it. So till the time the National Ambulance Code is made mandatory, perhaps the only way to really do it and achieve it is only our awareness that hazard and fatalities can happen if we keep sticking to our requirements of non-standard oxygen systems. So let us upgrade to medical oxygen systems in our ambulances to avoid the fatalities and hazards for our patients. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Tripathi. Our next speaker and the last speaker for this session, Ms. Huiling Ilianyo is a Senior Sales and Market Development Manager for AED Philips Healthcare, Asia Pacific, Singapore. She holds a degree of the